So this, I start again. This matrix is given, and we have to find out the cover. So this is a cover matrix. This is a cover matrix. The column of which correspond to the implicants we would have generated earlier, and the rows are 5, which are minterms. That. So for reduction, we have to go for reduction first. If I see the algorithm, we had the first line was find out the essential things and see what is uh, feasible before we go for selection. So before going for selection, let us see the 3 steps. One is essential column selection. So essential column is that column which has 1 in any one of the rows. So fourth column has 1 which is only 1 in that row, right? This row is very poor row, deficient row, and only person to take care of her is only fourth column. So fourth column should be selected. So my vector becomes x4 to be 1, right? If this happens, that simply means that I have selected this fourth column. So there is no more question to be asked for fourth. But fourth covers the fifth also. So my matrix will be reduced to 3 rows and 4 columns only, if you really appreciate that. Okay. I don't see any other row which is so deficient. So we have 3 rows and 4 columns because fourth we have selected. I can write that. No, this is this one with fourth column removed. This is reduced matrix. And on that matrix, we have to again apply 2 more reduction methods. If you see here, the column column fifth and the column 2. Please focus. Column 2 and column 5. Do you find any similarities? Yes. The column 5 has only 2 ones, which are matching with 2 ones in column 2. It simply means that the row 2 and row 3 are taken care of by both C2 and C5. And C5 takes care of nobody else. So can we make a choice between C2 and C5 because they both cover the same subset? So the powerful is C2 because it covers one more. So we can drop C5 in favor of C2 because C2 is more rich. It has 3 ones. C5 has only 2 ones, and they have common ones actually. So this is called dominated column removal. Is that okay? Similarly, if you look at before having essential, let us say essential step is not done. Let us say this step is not done. So fifth is not chosen. Now you focus on row 4 and row 5. Is it okay? Row 4 has only one in fourth column. Row 5 has 3 ones, second, third, and fourth column. Out of these 2 rows, there is again a favor we have to do to one of the rows. Which row? Now, one row is deficient, poor row. So if you take care of the rich row, the poor will be left out. So the decision here will be reverse. The poor row will be chosen because nobody else covers it. If I drop the row 4 and choose row 5 in that favor, then row 5 can be covered by second or third column, which would not imply the covering of row 4. In this case, the decision is reversed. The poor rows are chosen, and the rich rows, which have same number of ones in other columns, are dropped. So rich row R5 will be dropped. So we say dominating rows are removed. So 3 steps. Choose essential column, remove dominated column, and remove dominating rows. And after that, right, after that, we have this decision, right? Decision is X4 column is chosen because of essential one. X5 is not chosen because of dominated column. Dominated column. So this decision is made. We are left with 3 columns only. And because of those 2 columns, the 4th column covers 4th and 5th row. The row left are 3 only. So this is the resultant. This is the result from the original matrix. Before this, we have already chosen 4th column, and 5th column is dropped because of dominated one, right? And that 4th and 5th row are nowhere here. So we don't have to make any choice of dominating rows because they both are gone because of selection of X4. Now here, each row has 2 ones. So essentially is not there. Any pair of column has no ones common only, like they have different ones also in other rows. And no rows have a common one, such that only those are common, others are not. So now we have to go for selection. So we are left with 3 columns. Out of 3, we'll have to choose. Either choose one or do not choose one. Then see what is the cost. Then decision on X2, choose or not choose. Then decision on X3, choose or not choose. By the way, for a binary decision diagram, we have taken up from the top. We have binary decision diagrams to go for different vertices. So when we are sitting at a middle vertex, we can have a magic formula. Knowing without choosing left and right, we can know what is the estimate of the left and right, a magic formula. So standing here, I can compute if I choose column 1 or if I do not choose column 1, what could be my cost without exactly doing it. There is a method, right? And that method is called independent row finding. The cost below that tree will be equal to the independent rows in that matrix. So if you have more independent rows, you have more decision to make, the cost is higher. If independent rows are lower, then your decision to be made are lesser and the cost is lower. That is a magic formula I will tell you, bound. It is called bound. So before branching from this vertex left and right, I will try to find out bounds on left and right and choose only one which is beneficial according to bound. So if the 2 bounds are different, I will choose only one, whichever is a smaller one, right? Let us go about it. So the bounding is done by the magic formula, current estimate. The current estimate is, if any matrix is given, we just have to find out independent rows. Independent rows are those rows pairwise such that they have no one common in any column. They are 0, 1, 0, 1 are such that placed that they have different bits. Any 2 rows which have opposite bits in their columns are called independent rows because each of them will require separate column to cover them, right? If rows are pairwise independent, we can find the 3rd row which could be pairwise independent with each of them. So suppose Ri, Rj I found, they are independent. I have Rk. To bring Rk into their group, Rk must be pairwise independent with Ri and Rk must be pairwise independent with Rj. We can make a graph for that. R1, row 2, row 3. If they are independent, I draw an edge, right? If I want R3 to be in a group, then R3 should be compatible, independent with R2, R3 must be independent with R3. Then I have a click. And that I say R1, R2, R3, all 3 are together independent. Is that okay? This is a current estimate. So if you see that the earlier matrix, right? So you can see here the estimate of bound, lower bound is done and we sum the number of ones. So the first estimate is number of ones in a row, right? And what we see here is independent set of rows. You can check in any matrix that way, right? And you have to construct a graph to check pairwise independence so that we can make a larger group of independence that way, right? Okay, let us do it. This is another example, separate example. The matrix given to you is this matrix, and it has 5 rows and 5 columns. You want to find out what is the cost of this matrix? So if you look at here, he says the row 4 has one is not common with any one of these 1, 2, 3. It has one common in the 4th column. So row 4 is independent with R1, row 4 independent with R2, and this is the graphical representation. Row 4 is independent with R1, row 4 is independent with R2, and row 4 is independent with R3. And if you look at 1 and 2 are not independent because they have these ones common. 2 and 3 are not independent because they have this one common. 1 and 3 are also having these ones common. So they are not independent. This is the only independence graph. Out of this, we can choose any pair because there is no 3 group. So I choose this pair, right? So independent rows are only 2. So cost of this matrix to cover is only 2 columns because only 4th row needs a column, and because whosoever covers 4 cannot cover 2, so I need another column for 2. So cost of this number of columns required is 2 here because only 2 vertices are having independence. This is the bound. This is the bound computation. Bound. Okay, so let us go ahead. This is the same reused matrix in the earlier example. If you look at it, we see that there is nothing common here. I'm sorry. There is the first and 2 are not independent because of this. Second and third are not independent for this. And 3 and 1 are also not independent. So none of them are independent. It's a blank. So their cost is only 1. Cost is only 1. And they usually say plus 1 is addition. So the cost is 1 is added actually. So we'll say 1 is added here. 3. Cost is 3. By formula 1 is added. That's all. Okay. So once we know that the cost of here the column is 2, so we can choose any 2 columns here. So now let's take a decision. The bound is saying we cannot decide. Bound is 2, and it is visible that it is not a good information for us. Earlier information was good. In this case, if you select the first column, so x1 is chosen. The row 1 and row 2 are covered. So we are left with only this matrix, which is here, reduced matrix. And this simply says that you can delete any dominant column and choose one. So this is column 2 and 3. So you can choose any one of them, column 2 or 3 here. And our selection is okay. Is that okay? So this is when we select the first column. Now, if I don't select, if I do this decision, exclude first column. The first column is removed and not chosen. Not chosen means x1 is 0. It is not selected. So we are left with this matrix, right? And this matrix comes here. Okay. And if you see here, we have an independence here. The independence says these first two rows are independent. Or before this, we can still reduce it if you want. The essential selection. So this column is essential because of second row. This column is essential because of first row. So we choose true, right? But the cost of this is 2 now. 2 columns, x2, x3, both to be chosen. We might have earlier find a solution which was having the same cost. So this solution might not be acceptable to us. But if we had another solution earlier, which is of higher cost than 2, then we'll drop that earlier solution and choose this one now, right? So he says that we already have a solution of cost 2 earlier, so we discard this. So whether this is this case or this case, we discard it, right? Because this new cost here found is 3, and here cost is also 3 because of 2 rows independence and 1 for bound addition 1. That way. Okay. So you can do that examples further. This is all same repetition. The same repetition. Okay. So this was exact one. Exact one means we have to decide on every column. Every column. Now we come down and see that n is large. 100. Number of inputs for a function are large, 100. So for such a large input function, the phase 1 and phase 2 of twin Minkowski phase 1 somehow you can do with long pages, so many pages. But phase 2 is not possible. This matrix will be very great and you cannot take decision on say if n is 100, the number of minterms would be definitely be 2 to the power 99. And even if you divide it by something, your implicants could easily be 2 to the power 5 or something. 32 implicants or 64 implicants. For 64 implicants, if you draw the binary tree, the leaves will be 2 to the power 64. Are you following me what I'm saying? Should I go on the board? Let me go on the board. See, if n is 100 is too large, but let us take 100. How many minterms? To the power 100. But if you build around 0 or 1, they will be slightly half. So 2 to the power 99, maximum number of minterms could be there. If you have this, your even phase 2 is now impossible. Phase 1, impossible. If somehow imaginatively you could have completed the phase 1, you would have at least 32 or 64 implicants, columns. Very optimistic. It would be worse than this. So in your matrix, your minterms would be 2 to the power 99 and the columns would be 64. Phase 2. Fine. How do you do it? Number of minterms are too large. Even number of columns are also large. Even if you say I can handle so many rows somehow, but to decide on this the exact way, we will need a binary tree of how many levels? 64 levels. L will be 64. For 64 levels, how many leaves will be there? 2 to the power 64. We are back to the same complexity. You cannot explore 2 to the power 64 all options. Yeah.
Sir, the screen is on slide right now.
I'm sorry. I forgot. Sorry. Okay. I'm coming back. I'm repeating. Suppose you have n equal to 100. I'm marking it by green, one by one. For 100, minterms would be at least half of the total minterms. For n 100, the minterms would be 2 to the power 100. So half minterms is 2 to the power 99. Even with this, phase 1 is impossible. Phase 1 is impossible, right? But if you say somehow you can do it, then we come down and say we can do phase 1, and very pessimistically the minimum number of implicants would be 32, 64, whatever. I'm taking power of 2. It's not, there's no formula for that. So if you take that implicants and make a table, right? So this will be table. The number of min terms would be about 2 to the power 99. If you say somehow you can handle it by some magic, let us complete the columns. Columns are 64. Fine. If you have 64 columns, this is how would you handle it? There will be a matrix, 64 columns. If you still say these min terms are handleable, which are 2 to the power 99, 2 to the power 99 is 10 to the power 3 to the power 10. Nobody can handle this number, I show you. But I'm at a different problem. The problem I'm indicating is the columns are 1 to 64. So if you take a decision diagram, C1 chosen, not chosen, C2 chosen, not chosen, I will come to a BDD here. C1 chosen, not chosen, C2 chosen, not chosen, C3 chosen. How many levels will be there? 64 levels. How many leaves will be there? 2 to the power 64. Now how can you explore all 2 to the power 64 leaves for one cost? Huge. It's very huge. The answer is Quine-Minkowski is not feasible. Right? It's not feasible, that's all. If it is not feasible, what do we do? Well, you cannot stop producing chips. Right? I cannot stop doing research. I cannot stop doing. Can you drop mobile? Use of mobile? No. Chip has to be designed. If somebody has to design, how will he design? Then they have to take approximate decisions. Out of 2 to the power 99 in min terms, we'll choose only a few of them. Out of so many columns of 64 columns, I will choose only 5 or 8 of them and go ahead with my experiment. No? So how do I do that? Phase 2. This is phase 2. For phase 2, if I have a matrix, I will take that matrix as a graph so that each row is a vertex. Please listen to me carefully. This cover matrix, this is a cover matrix A. The columns are implicants and rows are min terms. But now I take it as a graph. Is it okay? So each row is a vertex. And each column is an edge. Because each column can have more than 2 ones. That means the edge is hyperedge. It will connect more than 3 vertices. Right? So if I am able to represent this matrix into a graph form, I can take help of graph algorithm. Edge cover graph algorithm. What I have to find out, for a given graph with hyperedges, I have to find out minimum number of edges corresponding to minimum number of columns, such that the chosen edges, small number of chosen edges, touch all the vertices. That's all. So this algorithm is that only. I hope I have made this clear. Let's read the algorithm. Make it a habit of reading algorithm and interpreting them, because now you will be writing them. Before writing algorithm, learn how to read them well. So if I read that, there is an input to the algorithm. The input is a graph. And what is the graph? The matrix A with each row as a vertex and each column as a hyperedge. What is the output? You find out minimum set of edges such that all vertices are touched. By definition of graph, it is called edge cover. Edge cover means subset of edges in a graph, subset of edges such that they touch all the vertices. Is it okay? How do you do it? Start. Step 1. I say edge cover as of now has like whatever, a whole graph, you can say. And this U edge cover is null. No edge is included. The graph is given. So what we do? We observe the vertex set. Out of this edge set, I choose one edge and say it is my edge cover edge. So I say my edge cover is union with this edge also. But if I have chosen this edge, I will drop all the vertices which this edge is covering from the graph, so that I say that my edge is chosen, those vertices are covered. So we remove these vertices from the graph, assuming that they are covered by this edge EI, and I have to focus on other edges and other vertices. And this is iterative till all the vertices are covered and V becomes empty. Okay, so this deletion of vertices happens from the vertex V. So we remove these vertices from vertex V set. That's all. It's a simple algorithm. If you run it, this will be even more easier. So this A is there. It has 5 columns, 5 rows. And if you make a graph, 5 vertices will be there. The first edge is a simple edge connecting vertex 1, 2. The second edge is a hyper edge connecting 3 vertices, V2, V3, V5. Third edge is a hyper edge connecting V1, V3, and V5. Let us see that. The graph is there. This is the matrix. This is the graph. All of you do it yourself on this. Just make it very clear and be confident that you can draw this graph from this kind of a matrix. I repeat it for you. Right. So for five of these, I will put it here. I am sorry. The slides have been misplaced. I'm sorry. I will again reshare it. Now let me share my slides. I am back here. Please focus. And all of you become confident that you can do it. So if I see here, there are 5 rows. So I have 5 vertices. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 5 vertices are there. Round ones. You see round ones. The first vertex is not visible because edge is painted with the same color. So 5 vertices I have drawn for 5 rows. If I start with the first column, the first edge A. I say it is edge A. Where is the edge A? Edge A connects vertex 1 and 2. Vertex 1 is here and vertex 2 is here. So this is edge A. Right. Let us see the edge C. It connects the vertex 1, 3, and 5. Vertex 1, vertex 3, and vertex 5. So the black one, this black one is C. The black edge painted is C, covering 3 vertices. The B also covers 3 vertices. So this is 2, 3, and 5. This is here, right? So this is making a graph from this matrix. Now we have to run the edge cover as heuristic. What is edge cover heuristic? Let us go back. Edge cover says select any edge E. Presume that is selected. So our edge cover is made up of this edge. Then delete all vertices which are covered by EJ. So if you go for that, what is the best method? Which edge you want to choose first? Which covers maximum number of vertices. So you can choose either B or C, any one of them, right? So if I choose C, then 1, 5, and 3 are covered. So let us forget about them. Who are remaining? 2 and 4. For 2, I need any of the 2, A or E. I choose E. For 4, I have only one option, D. Right, because 4th row is given rise to essential column. So D has to be chosen always. There is no other way, because 4 is not connected to anybody else. So I have to choose 3 edges only, so that all 5 minterms are covered. So this is cover now. CED is cover. CD means 3rd column, 4th column, and 5th column. If you choose, this matrix is covered. So your minimization says you have only 3 implicants corresponding to CDE. You can write those implicants. Right? Write those implicants from the that. Another solution the book is giving you. Let us choose B. Right? Let us choose B. So A was required for A1 and D is of course required for 4. There is no option. So you still have the same solution, three implicants. 3 implicants. This is the way to do approximate way. It depends on how you choose the first edge and the whole solution differs. So this is heuristic. Right. So let me complete, because I don't think I can go ahead with many of the things. I will just introduce you to another representation of Boolean function, which is a binary decision diagram on variables. BDD on function variables. Say function is variable of ABC. So we'll draw a binary decision diagram on ABC. And we'll see that this BDD is canonical. Canonical in the sense, if a function is there, it will always have a unique reduced tree, reduced BDD. Or if you have a reduced BDD, it can represent only one function. That is canonicity. One function has always a same tree, no different. And one tree has only one function equivalent. No 2 tree can have the same function, or no 2 function can have the same tree. This is canonicity. It's extremely helpful because it is one-to-one representation, right? So we directly go to that and skip all those kind of other things. So what I'm skipping is the phase 1 approximate algorithm, right? For that, you can go through the Micheli book, and it is something like, for Quine-Letlinski, phase 1, we are not drawing tables. But what we are doing is, we are just having all terms together in a box, like a housey, in a bottle. We just shake the bottle and pick any 1 or 2 and try to merge them. That's all, random way. And keep it increasing. That's the only way. The randomized method of heuristic for phase 1, assuming that we might find some good implicant, which are not guaranteed always. So I'm skipping that. So only one discussion is remaining is binary decision diagrams, right? So binary decision diagrams are diagrams representing a function. If we start from the first vertex, it will be a root vertex for first variable x. Function will be here, f. F is a function of x, y, z. Let me go on the board because I am not able to write clearly. Suppose you have a function x, y, z, like that. So will have a kind of a decision on every variable. So if I have a x, the decision is either x can be 0 or x can be 1. Then I have to take a decision on y. Right? So y can be 0 or y can be 1. And then we have to take decision on z. Now the point is, if we take decision on variables, what is that we are going to achieve in last? If x is 0, suppose this part. If x is 0, if y is 0 and z is 0, what is the value of function? The function value should be 0. I must find the decision here, whether function is 0 or what. The function will be 0. And such way, how many leaf vertices? And we represent them differently. So if it is a function of 3 variables, how many minterms? 8. So my tree will have 8 leaves here. Each of the leaf will carry the value from truth table for this function. If you make up a truth table, it will have the same information. So BDD carries the same information actually. Only thing is it's a diagram, it's a graph. So for that function, if you make up a truth table, I will say xy. What is xy? So xy is 2 terms, xyz bar and xyz. Xyz bar is this, xyz is this. What is yz? It is x prime yz is 1 here and xyz, which is same here. So from this function, I could infer the truth table, right? This is truth table. So it has zeros, 5 zeros and 3 ones. In fact, this BD will contain the same information, right? These 0101 will be filled up here. And we have BDD, binary decision diagram, where it is ordered. This is ordered. What ordered? X, Y, Z is an order. You can change the order, Y, Z, X or something, but it is pre-decided and we do it. This is possibly not canonical as of visible now. We have to reduce it. So you have reduced ordered BDD, right? Now we come down to reduction process. How to reduce? So that is the last step now, 5 more minutes. So I will come down to reduction, how to reduce. So to reduce BD, this is the method. Suppose I have drawn a BD for some function, right? That function is this, a plus b in dot c. So you can draw this function here. The root vertex will contain the f. You can write f in this way. Okay. I can write f here this way. Now, when I draw this will be like this. The reduction procedure is very simple. We take help of graph isomorphism. So whenever in this complete graph, if we have a small subgraphs, so what I say, this is a small subgraph. This is a small subgraph. They both are identical. So in a given graph, if my subgraphs are identical, I will use only one instance and take the edges merged that way. Is it okay? If I do that, C and C will be same. I will just take only one graph here, C and its structure, and from B, both the edges will come to the same vertex, C. So I will merge this graph. I will merge this graph. So we merge this graph. No, C and C will be merged. So only one C will survive. Now the point is, if C are merged, the B when value 0 will come to C, and B when value 1 is also coming to C. What is happening? A vertex B is making no difference. Whether B becomes 0, we still come to the same graph. Whether B is 1, we still come to the same graph. So that means B is redundant. B is not taking any decision. So in any case, if we have such kind of a structure where a vertex left and right merge to the same vertex, right? Merge to the same vertex, then we omit that vertex. I've lost the track of that. So the second option is reduction is when a parent from left side traversal and right side traversal has the same child, the parent is making no difference. So we remove the parent. If you see here, the parent is removed, right? If you remove that parent, it has making no difference. So parent is removed. So from A1, the thing will directly come to C like this. And because these two C are same, we have merged both of them. Okay. From this A, we have no option here. B will go to 0 and B1 will go to C. B1 will go to C. We will make it. This is a different order. We are not talking about this. We are not talking about this. We are talking about this only. So this will have a reduction. We'll show it in the next slide if you can do that. Or it is here. It is here. A, B, and this structure and C repeated. This is a reduced structure. There is no redundancy here, right? So both the structures are done. If subgraphs are identical, they are merged. If parent is having no option, parent left, parent right is the same vertex, the parent is removed. By these two, our RBD gets reduced. And we have a reduced RBD, right? This reduced RBD can carry information about the functions. Why they are important? They are important because computer understands these BDs as graphs. And manipulation of a graph in computer is very good. There are algorithms. So representing a function by graph is RBD is very good. You can even compare two graphs for finding whether F1, F2 are equivalent, right? What is optimization? Function, Boolean function optimization. We have one given function F. We are trying to find out a reduced second function F2 so that both functions same way, both are equivalent. That is what. So this RBD we have just seen. Please do some exercises at your home, right? Applying those two merging procedure, reduction procedure, repeatedly looking at many graphs, you can have a problem or exercise I will give you. I will upload on the Canvas so that you can go through the exercise for doing that. Just last two slides. If you have two BDs, fine. So here, one BD is this. This is one BD, which we call as BF. This is another BD, which we call BG, and we want to join them. Like requirement is, I have to do F1 or F2 without going through expressions, through graphs only. That is feasible. We start with the first F1 here and F2 here, right? And try to do this operation between those two vertices, R1 and S1, right? That simply implies that instead of doing those two operations between the two vertices here, we can do the same operation between their respective children. So doing operation between R1 S1 implies that I take the left child of R1 and left child of S1, do the same operation between them, R2 S3, and I take the right child of R1 R3, right child of S1, which is S2, and do this operation between R3 and S2, ORing operation, and keep doing it. If this level is up, then this level is down, then I will descend only one level, not in both the trees, right? So this is shown here. I am operating between R1 and S1 by ORing function, right? I have to OR. So between R1 S1, I'm trying to OR. This boils down to left of R1, which is R2, and left of S1, which is S3. Do the same operation. Right side of R1 is R3, right side of S1 is S2. Do the same operation between them. But we cannot do operation between the vertices unless we reach the leaves. So we'll keep descending down in the tree, both sides, till we reach the leaves. And once we reach the leaves have values, we can operate. This is a very strong application of Boolean algebra on graphs, ROBDs. The operation is called apply, right? I think it is saturation for you for this whole thing. I will stop here. A lot of things are remaining. Phase 1 heuristic is remaining. You can read by yourself how to pair up them up and expand and reduce. And a few more things on sequential FSM minimization. So FSM minimization, you can take it as implementation first and then minimization. So if you take the finite state machine, I'm sharing it. If you take the finite state machine, it is a state diagram. How do you realize the hardware for this? By hands. A computer will do the logic synthesis in its own way by algorithms. For algorithm, we have to build in C program. So given this, you can say the Boolean graph, I should find out the hardware. Just last two slides, literally. So I will identify how many states are there. Number of states, I will take log of states to the base 2 so that I can code them. I am coding. How many bits are required to code? Log 2. So for 2 states, I required only 1 bit. So I require only 1 flip-flop. So by doing this operation, I find out how many flip-flops I require. Then I have to design just 2 combinational circuits. One for a state transition, one for output generation. On this FSM, if you find a tuple here, the first tuple is for input and second tuple is for output. So with 0, 0 input, output is 0. With 0, 1 in the input, output is 1. With 1, 0 input, output is 1. This seems to be a serial adder. You can verify. So I will go for a state table. Looking at this, I will just jot down where I am going. From present state A, I can go to any of the 4 states, depending on 4 inputs, 4 possible combination of inputs. 2-bit input, 4 combinations. So from present state, all 4 possibilities I am writing. From the B state, all 4 possible states I am writing. This is I am deriving from diagram only. Out of this, I will make a truth table kind of a thing. For present state, I will code them either 0, 1. So I have 1 bit only. Then I will take the input x1, x2. I will make a table, state transition table, where I have coded present state, then input, x1, x2. As a multiple output, I will write next state and z separately. So these tables will actually speak up as truth tables for designing of combination logic. So I have decided that I will have only one flip-flop, and I can open this up. This is a state transition table, output table merged. I will separate them out. I will make output table alag and next table state table alag. So I can do that this way, right? I can do it this way. Or this is another problem there. And I can realize those circuits. No? Learn that from your whatever way. The optimization here is, given a finite state machine or state diagram, I must reduce it, having lesser number of vertices and lesser number of edges. Then only implement it. That minimization is part of synthesis tool. CAD will do it. Algorithm we are not taking. If you have this state, it's going to be reduced, and we have a table method of doing it, right? Okay, so I stop here. You can go to the Kohavi's book. The reference is there at the end of the slide. To learn, to implement the hardware for FSM, please do it. And FSM optimization, 2 topics. Is it okay? So my slides, the backside contain the reference to it. Okay. So this is the book I'm using for synthesis. Kohavi is not written here. Anyway, this slide set might have. So both are shared with you. Oh, this also. I think the beginning I have declared. Yeah, it's here. Fine. So both slide sets are shared with you. From Kohavi's book, it is very simple. Sequential circuit design. You learn the implementation of FSM and the minimization of FSM. First will come minimization, then implementation. Whatever you do paper pencil way, computer will do by itself as a optimization, sequential circuit optimization. Heuristic method will be taken by Amit now for retiming. No? So I'm taking leave now. A long day for you. Amit is also waiting, half an hour over with me. So thank you, and come up with some questions if you have. You can expect few questions in your quiz from Kohavi's book and what we have discussed today for ROBD, the operation between 2 functions, and so on and so forth. Oh, CGV slides or get stuck. I'm not sure where. Sorry. So I'm over. If anybody has question, we can take, or I hand over it to Amit. Fine.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, Amit, please.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thanks, Amit.
I can see also some few more participants over here. So if you really interested, then probably I would like to go through few things related to the data part and control part design for a digital circuit or digital system, which is just one step ahead of what we probably discussed yesterday regarding scheduling, binding. Sir also to discuss about the logic design. Okay, so I will just go through how you can design a control part and data part for a one particular algorithm. Okay, so if algorithm is given to you, how you can approach to design a control and data part for them. Okay, so probably I can also understand that probably it is very exhaustive day for you. So probably I will try to wind up my lecture maybe for within 1 hour. Okay, maybe 45 minutes or so. So if you want, then probably you can take a 2-minute quick break, because probably I will take 2 minutes to just do a setup. Okay, over here. So please come back in a 2 minutes. So I will be ready with my PPT with the sharing mode. Okay, thank you.